Hi everyone. I know this is kind of a new channel, but I've been in the crypto space for quite some time, and actually, I'm like many of you guys. I've been like mining cryptos, buying cryptos, selling cryptos, staking cryptos, and looking at various different projects. But recently, like let's say starting last year or the year before, there were a lot of crypto projects that popping up, new kinds of crypto projects. Let's say starting with Helium, right? Helium is not the first one, but it might be one of the most popular ones. So these kind of crypto projects are, a lot of people call them mining, and then they will exaggerate the profitability of these kind of projects. If you get in early, you can make a certain type of money. In some sense, it's true, but I think it's really important that people realize not every single project will succeed. And then just like startup companies, 99% of startup companies will fail. And for these kind of projects, it's really essential for you to know what you're getting into and choose wisely by looking at the project itself. So I'm going to look at a few of these projects that I think there are a lot of YouTubers are talking about, and give my 2 cents on like what I think of them. Some of them are pretty good and pretty established, and some of them are kind of tricky in the sense that the idea of implementation is kind of limited. So let's go into the background of these kind of projects. So these kind of mining projects, they're not actually mining. Well, at least not in the traditional way. The traditional, what we call mining, is basically proof of work and then validating transactions and stuff, right? So just like Bitcoin mining and Ethereum mining proof of work stuff. These kind of new projects, they are different. They're actually, in some sense, they're more traditional than the OG crypto projects. Let me explain why. So let's say consider your real life. I think you have seen some apps that are, let's say, share economy. So basically, these projects are an extension of a share economy. So you have a house, you are going to rent it out for people to live in, like short-term Airbnb, and then you have an extra car, you're going to lease it to other people for them to drive, not driving yourself like Uber, you lease it to other people to drive. So those kind of projects, you're getting paid for what you have. Basically, what you're providing, you're either supporting infrastructure of cars, infrastructure of houses, and so on. So these kind of new crypto projects are basically like that. So you are, for some of them, you are providing data. For some of them, you are supporting the infrastructure, helping them to build out the infrastructure that they want. So, and then in turn, you are getting paid in crypto. And then your data is transmitted through a crypto network so that it's validated. So that's like a high level. It's not 100% correct, but that's basically the idea of it. So there are many projects like let's take a look at them one by one. So Helium, not going to go into it. It's already pretty popular. So the first one we're going to look at is Planetwatch. Planetwatch is a pretty established project. So I would say I think a lot of people already know about it. So it is essentially a data quality collection service. So basically, you're putting data quality sensor in your house, depending on indoor or outdoor, what kind of like data you're collecting, you will send it back to Planetwatch, and then they will package your data and then sell it to, let's say, government, research facility, and stuff. And then in turn, they will pay you back using their Planet token, and then they take a 20% cut. And then within the sensors, they have like 4 types of sensors. So one of the most popular one, and then I think in the last AMA they decided to stop onboarding the new ones, and let's stop selling the license for Type 4, because there are too many of these sensors right now existing. So, and then there are also like Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 sensors, which are still like not saturated. So the idea is the Planetwatch, they will sell you the Type 1, Type 2, Type 3 sensors themselves. I think right now Type 2 is not active yet, but Type 1 and Type 3, you have to buy the license and then get on a waitlist, and then once it's your turn, they will sell you the sensor. And Type 4 right now, Type 4 is still third party, so you can have your license, but you don't get your sensor directly from Planetwatch. But this is a pretty good business model, as they have a way to sell your data. You have to wait to get paid, and then you only front the money for the sensor and then hoping to get your money back. And as you can see a lot of video online, a lot of people have already ROI, and then the token price right now, it's pretty stable at like about 30 cents. And then you should be getting, for Type 4 sensor, you should be getting about like 20 planets per day. So it takes about like 2 months for ROI if it stays this way. So this is so in terms of actual profitability, there are like other videos you look at. So Planetwatch is a pretty, let's say, they have a roadmap, they have a pretty established like business plan, and then they are pretty transparent. Like you can watch their CEO's AMA, he knows what he's doing, and then I think it's kind of a good project to be in. But although right now it's the Type 4 sensor, which are the chipless sensors, you cannot buy the license anymore. So that's a kind of a caveat. So the second project we are going to look at is called Dimo. This project is still like really early. So basically, this project is also one of the few projects that I consider having a lot of potentials. So basically, instead of like selling weather data like Planetwatch, this one is selling your car's data. Let's say your throttle, your engine information, your acceleration, deceleration, your GPS location, and things like that. So basically, there is like a data collection device that plug into your OBD2 port in your car. Like most cars will have that. It's like the port that you use to diagnose your car when there's like an engine light that comes on. So it will extract a lot of like vehicle based data. So this is the data for cars is really essential in the sense that car manufacturers, they want to know the data from their cars, but they don't really have a good way to do it, especially for older cars. So it will be some kind of data that's like useful for them and useful from other like auto related companies. And also they're putting a lot of emphasis on electric cars. So you see, like, if you look deep into this project, electric cars are going to get the most, not getting most, but their like reward rates are 10x. So the multiple is 10x. So which makes sense. Like, electric car is the future, at least right now, what we can see. And then so they're going to collect a lot of like data for electric cars. And then at the same time, they are, so you can see AutoPi is the company that actually makes the device, and then Dimo is the company that actually brings the software into the AutoPi device. AutoPi has their own like other devices. Dimo is basically implementing their software and blockchain into the AutoPi devices. And at some point in the future, they will also collaborate with Helium. They will say it will be a new device that maybe your car will act as a helium hotspot, a moving helium hotspot. So, but that's something in the future that's still planning. So right now, the thing is, for this project, it's still early, and the token is not finalized yet, and so there's a lot of uncertainty on this one. So you don't know how much it costs. They have a reward structure, but you don't know how much your reward is going to worth. Like, if the token is not on an exchange, they can tell you get like 1,000 tokens per day, but it's still not translating to real world value. But personally, I'm really interested in this project and already ordered a data collection device for this. Right now, I think it's already sold out for first batch, and it's going to they're going to come up with another one, another batch later on. But you can go into their Discord and figure out. So the third one, I'm going to skip the Dor Miner for now. So the third one is it's a WeatherXM. So again, this one is really similar to Planetwatch, except that this one uses a weather station. So Planetwatch uses like an air quality sensor. WeatherXM uses weather station. If you see, so basically they have their own weather station. Basically, the weather station they have is like a pretty traditional weather station, but so the weather station itself is nothing new, but it will transmit the data to the Squares device. So this device is actually what they call the miner itself. So the weather station will transmit data to this miner, and then the miner will transmit the data using Wi-Fi back to their server, and then they will validate your data. So so basically, this is also really good use case, in the sense that right now we know weather stations are like the connected weather stations are not really common. You get weather data from, let's say, Los Angeles. There were like a few big weather stations, but your small at home ones, they're not connected. They're not like, the data is not being collected to a central platform so that they can aggregate all the data and then use like things like machine learning and stuff to provide good, to make use of the data. So one thing about this is, like, first of all, because it's a weather station, you'll have to have like a pretty open, like, let's say, balcony and stuff to mount your weather station. And also they already tell you that the reward, it will be based on the scarcity of your data. So for example, you're in the middle of nowhere, there's no other weather station around you, so definitely your data will be much more valuable than, like, say, I have like 10 weather stations around me, so my data will not be as valuable as like somewhere that doesn't even have one single weather station. So so this is one of the projects that I would say I would put it as the same level as Dimo. And one thing that's kind of more special about this project is the company that's behind this project is actually, it's called Ex Machina. So it's actually an established company that they're already making with analysis service. So they've been around since 2015, and then they've making the weather stations. Well, I wouldn't say they're manufacturing the weather station, but they've designed weather stations, at least like have people manufacture for them, and then they've been in the weather business for quite some time. So that's like a plus. Like in crypto business, you've seen a lot of like projects that they don't really have a provided like a well established team. They can be anyone unless you toss them, and then people will say, oh, anyone can be a project. So one thing about it's kind of off topic is, people always say, oh, it doesn't matter as long as anyone can make it in crypto. True, but when it gets to the technology part, let's say for weather, air quality, driving information, you have to have someone that knows how it works, and then knows how to get the data, how to safely implement the stuff. It's not like I'm a high school graduate. I want to get a minor for, let's say, water quality data, and then I can just go out and then build something. It's not like that. I'm not saying not, but it's still to give investors like kind of like confidence. You have to be an expert in terms of these. So these are the three projects that I am more confident in. And then I'm going to talk about the other two projects that I'm a little bit more skeptical on. Not to in the sense that they're scamming people or something. I'm just personally not that confident in their like how wide their application can be. So let's look at Dor Miner. So basically the naming is kind of hilarious. So it's a door traffic sensor. So basically the idea is you're earning reward by sending the traffic data from a door back to the blockchain. But so you ask, like, why do people want to know how many people pass through my door? That's exactly the thing. So I was the application of this thing is kind of limited. Not limited to like I don't think it's like useful for personal stuff. So I'm not going to get a lot of useful data from my own house, because I know, like, people, first of all, people are not interested in how many people goes in and out in my own house. Secondly, I know who comes in and out. So I can see some use of this. Is remember, like a few years ago, Google started Google Maps starting have a section of how busy a location is. So this data is really essential. So if they can convince a lot of people to, let's say, a lot of businesses to put one of these sensors on their door, they will have a lot of like data on like how busy this business is, or this like mall is. So that's something that's really useful for consumers and for, let's say, anyone that looks at the map or try to go to a place or use Yelp. So I want to go to a restaurant. I want to see how busy this restaurant is, right? So this is one of the miners that are useful, but I don't think it's useful for like individuals. I would not say you live in a house and you go out to buy a miner. I would say if you have a store and then you buy a miner, that's something that's good for you and the society. So the last one I want to look at this. This is called Revofi. It's they're trying to position themselves as like the next Helium, but I'm seeing something that I think it's not going to end well. Is so Helium is long fi. So basically, it's providing a data transmission in like a really long range. Only when the data amount of data transmitting is not that much, so that's why the range can be long. But this one essentially is this like beef up router. So you can see so it's a router that has like so basically you have your normal router, right? And then they also have the NVIDIA Jackson platform in it. So basically there's a Tegra SoC, and then they can have, but on top of the SoC they have like a PCIe connection. You can plug in some PCIe NVMe storage onto it, and then they can use they marketed that they can use this as a compute platform, also as a storage provider platform. So they kind of changed this a little bit. So right now, if you look at the storage part, it looks like it tells you high-speed C10U3 rated memory. That's it. If anyone doesn't understand like what C10U3 means, it's a SD card, SD or micro SD card. So it's a class 10 U3 memory card. So that's not even a NVMe SSD. So usually memory cards are quite slow in this sense. So that's another red flag. So the first red flag is so you can see their primary function is join the wireless revolution. So their primary function they mentioned was to like Helium is sharing your long fi, right? So this one is sharing your Wi-Fi. The only thing is, if you are in a location that are not busy and then they don't have a lot of like free wireless hotspots, like for example McDonald's, Starbucks around you, idea is you can earn money by providing your wireless service to other people. But then, as we know, Wi-Fi routers range is not that big. They try to slap a lot of like different words on it. A Wi-Fi 6 mesh. You're not going to form a mesh network with one router. The mesh network, you have to have multiple routers or one router, multiple satellites. So the mesh part doesn't exist, okay? So, and it can only form a mesh, let's say if they develop something that can mesh between like two different owners' routers. Now that can be useful, but as we know, the Wi-Fi range is pretty limited. Like even if I want to form a mesh network with my neighbor, that's kind of hard if I live in a single family house, unless I'm living in a condo, right? So that's something that they never addressed. I watched the CEO's interview multiple times, like on different like channels. He only mentioned Wi-Fi 6E. How are you going to adjust the the profitability type of thing. Like, so I already raised in one situation where this thing can be useful. Well, okay, so if you are in a pretty dense area that you have multiple of these routers that can form a pretty big network. In those cases, I'm pretty sure if you have in a dense area, other people will find a Starbucks or McDonald's that they can use for free. Then why will people pay for this kind of connection? Or even better, like download an app and then get connected to this router and then pay for it. Why will people do that? That's something that's, if they don't address this, I don't recommend like going into this. And also they never talk about the they kind of like touch on the storage provider part, and that's the second red flag. Is I don't think you're going to provide a lot of storage on a 256 gigabyte to 1 terabyte SD card. Like, even if you have an NVMe storage, I don't think that's a viable storage provider infrastructure. And also I feels like the team is trying to throw all kind of like buzzwords into it to like kind of like fool people that don't really have a technology background. And the last one is the compute part. They say that these devices can provide a cloud computing capability. So there are two ideas that they raise. One of them is like some people's like programs can reside in this router and then provide a compute service. Secondly, the more like outrageous part, they say this can, because it has a GPU in it, it can provide cloud gaming. That's nonsense. Okay, like even Nvidia themselves have not yet figured out a way to use other people's like, if this is currently viable. I'm pretty sure Nvidia will come up with a program. Oh, you can share your GPU when you're not. So right now, there's a latency part, and there's like so this GPU is pretty weak. So unless you find a way to aggregate all the GPU power, and I don't think right now there's such a small team has the capability of doing that. So this is pretty big red flag to me. So basically, moral of this story is like today's video is like looking at the Planetwatch, Dimo, and WeatherXM. These are companies that have like pretty good use cases and pretty realistic use cases for their project. And then the Dor Miner is like a limited use case, but still a good use case. And then when it comes to Revofi, that's something that you really need to look into. Think about it for yourself. Don't look at like, don't take my word for it. Don't take any YouTuber's word for it. Look at the technology behind it, and then think about their words, like how they want to implement the technology and whether or not that's going to work. Yet you have to do your own homework. It's not like people tell you they're going to do something and you just trust in them, and then they'll, oh, you're going to earn money. So right now, like, it's saying that you are giving you empty promises that you are going to earn money. It's not enough. You need to look at projects that are actually going to work. So, yeah, basically that's. I hope everyone learned something. Thank you.